Hi there, Massy here, coach, strategist and author of 5 books, the most recent book being Decision Making Mastery. And welcome to this presentation. I'm going to do a presentation which I hope serves you extremely well. It's about how we navigate our way through uncertain, challenging times, particularly if we feel we don't have a choice in certain matters. So I'm going to talk about those subjects and what I work with and work on with my one-on-one private clients. I'm going to share with you some of the things that come to mind in those conversations. At the end of this conversation, I'm going to share with you a program that I'm putting together called Become a Natural SuperHuman. And it's come about as I've asked myself, how can I best serve my clients? How can I best serve people? How can I best serve humanity through these tumultuous and turbulent times? And one of the things that's come up for me is, helping people become more able to navigate through these challenging times. And I'm sort of drawing on different archetypes. And what came to mind for me as I was sitting with it is, we need to be like this great leader. We need to be this great warrior, but we also need to be this great sage. And how can I use the example of those archetypes to sort of lead us into being the ideal being in order to navigate our way through these uncertain times, which I don't think are going to go away anytime soon. So I've had clients say to me, certainly as over the last 6 months, things have sort of got a little bit pushy, a little bit aggressive, and there's been mandates and different things coming in and certain impositions and that sort of stuff, and people getting to this stage of being a little bit worn down, a little bit worn out, and just like saying, I don't have a choice. I have to go this way. I don't have a choice. So I wanted to explore that and talk about that. And first of all, I want to acknowledge it's not easy to get into that space and place, or to be sort of pushed into that place and space. And it's certainly not easy. Like, it's not necessarily easy to get out of that. Now, if we take ourselves back, 2019 prior to, I'm sure that all of you have had the experience of whether it's a breakup in a relationship, whether it's a changing in a job, whether it's being fired from a job. I've certainly had that experience. Whether there's been other tumultuous experiences where you need to make some decisions. Now, maybe we were in a time back then when there wasn't a lot of disruption happening around us. So there were certain levels of stability around us in the environment, and maybe it was just in our small little world these things were happening. I think we've got a little bit more complexity now, which I think requires us to show up in a different way. And again, that's why I'm trying to draw out and upskill people in being a better leader, warrior, and sage. But for us, when we get to this situation of I don't have a choice, let me just share some examples of clients I've worked with before that have got to the place of saying, I don't have a choice, I'm not able to do that. And what I suggest is the way through it. And the way I suggest through it is this thing called creativity. It's an absolute superpower. And we all have creativity within us. It's not just for the artists, it's not just for the writers and all of that sort of stuff. Every single one of us has this, creative flame burning within us. But for me, from my experience with myself and my clients, I need to create the environment to allow that spark to turn into a flame, to sort of come out and start to change the things around me. So there's certain things I can do, there's certain ways I can behave, there's certain thinking I can do, there's certain emotional states I can be in that are going to better serve this creative essence and bring it to the forth so it can be used most effectively to help us navigate our way through, work our way through these particular experiences we're having. So one that comes to mind was I was working with a client a few years ago, and this was a single mother of 2 children in New York City. So like a busy city, a busy life, an expensive city, so needing to provide income to take care of the family. So a lot of pressure on this person. So we were talking about health and vitality and bringing a bit more vitality. And we started talking about the physical health side of things. What are you doing physically? And, she was saying, I don't have time. I don't have time to, go down to the gym, and it's going to take a half an hour, 3/4 an hour to get there. Then there's going to be an hour there. Then there's a clean up. Then there's a get back. I just don't have time. So that was the story that they were telling themselves. And what I, say to my clients is, let's just back up. Let's just, stop telling that story, or park that story over there for now. We can bring that story back if we need to bring it back, but let's challenge the stories we're telling ourselves, because it's the narratives we tell ourselves that create the reality of the experience we have. So when I tell myself a certain thing, I start believing that, and I start moving and grooving in that direction. So I create my reality a lot of times by the quality of my thinking. And one of the ways to mix up and mess up that thinking is to bring this flame of creativity into it. So in this particular circumstance, it's like acknowledging, it's like tough times, and you're in a tough place and that sort of stuff. I acknowledge it's hard. So let's not make it any harder. Let's, use our creativity, get this flame going, and look at creative ways. And one of the creative ways was, let's creatively change this word exercise into physical activity. Exercise, I picture gymnasium, travel time there, travel time back. Physical activity, I'm just picturing movement. Okay, is there any way you can move your body in a particular way that's going to, get the physical movement, the skeletal muscles moving, circulatory system going, respiratory system, elevate the heart rate, all of that sort of stuff, fire off those endorphins, all of the benefits we get from exercising, physical activity. So then when we start, using creativity, we're like, okay, it's just about moving the body. Like, that's what it is. It isn't about showing up to the gym and, busting out muscles and, being in competitions. It's about physically moving the body in order for this body to operate at its optimum level. So creatively, it was like, okay, do you have time to dance around your living room for 10 to 15 minutes a few days a week? Yeah, I think I can. And then we get even more creative and like, can you get your two daughters involved? So, you're busting moves, you're like having like a mini disco. Maybe you have a disco night where you like dance around for an hour. Maybe you get into some ecstatic dance and you have these, moves and grooves where you like be completely in flow. So it was a creative solution and playing around with the words we use and the story we tell to disrupt it, to like allow a little bit more possibility. So now it's not a 2.5 hour activity. Now it's like a 20-minute activity. Switch some music on, dance around, go and have a shower and get ready for work. So that's using creativity to find a solution to something that was like, I can't do it, I don't have time, it's not possible. Like, that's the story, that's the block. We need to be conscious of not telling ourselves that story, that I don't have a choice, there's nowhere to go, whatever. Because what that happens is, at a mental psychological level, we're almost telling the brain. So you as captain of your brain are telling your brain, there's no way out of this. So the brain just goes, no worries, then we'll just go back to sleep. We've been told by the boss, the captain, that this isn't possible. We're just like minions here, like, executing the commands of the boss. And if the boss says it can't be done, well, it can't be done. So brain just like, stops going into that creative space. The spark and flame of creativity sort of, goes back down again. So we want to make sure we have the right dialogue happening in our mind. We want to challenge the validity, the truth of the statement we're making. There's a woman called Byron Katie who wrote a book called Loving What Is. And in that, she talks about these 4 different questions she asks herself to get to the truth of the story we're telling. So the first time we tell the story, she might ask the question, is it true? And the first response is, yes, it's true, I don't have time, story. And then the second question is, are you 100% absolutely certain that's the truth? Now, when you get that in your face and you start revisiting and asking yourself, is that the absolute truth? Do I not have time to do this? Or am I telling myself a story which is putting myself into this small box and not allowing the light of possibility to shine in from different directions? So we want to challenge those statements. another example might be, and this is a little bit more current, it might be, I don't like the impositions that are being placed on me in the state I'm living, whether that state's in Australia, whether that state's in America, whether that state is, a county or region or whatever. We're living in our particular countries, like, maybe there's impositions by a particular governor, a premier, or a mayor or whatever. And we get to the stage and we say, I can't do anything about it. I can't control it. It's, this person that's putting this imposition. Again, we get this creative flame. And we sort of, sit there with it and we say, yes, am I able to do something differently? If I don't like this, can I change something? Maybe I can change my internal house. I can get creative about the space I have here, and that can create a great sense of calm that I sort of, come into my house, and there's, this great energy about it, and there's these great flowers, and as I come into this, it changes my state. So I'm actually okay in the state I'm in the state, the physical geographic state I'm in. So that might be a way to creatively create a shift. It might be that that's not enough. So another part of this process is getting this creative flame going is we need to be a little bit more resilient, and we need to be able to handle a little bit more discomfort. This is when I talk about becoming a superhuman, a natural superhuman, why I draw on the warrior. We need this warrior part of ourselves. Now the leader has this within themselves. They realize that they need the warrior spirit to be able to stand fast, to be able to be calm and stable in making decisions, to allow them to navigate their way through uncertain times. And a leader, let's talk about in a war context, is there's lots of stuff going on. It's like a very disruptive, high consequence environment. So that leader needs to be very creative on how they navigate their way, and need to have that resilience, that strength to say, I'm willing to experience some discomfort in order to get what it is I want in my life. So in that example of, I don't like living in the state, let's choose a state in the US. I'm recording this, I'm in Bali, but I see enough news things. So someone decides I don't want to live in the state of California. So there's a bunch of people that have actually lifted up and moved to different states. Maybe they've gone to Texas, maybe they've gone to Florida, maybe they've gone to Denver, Colorado, somewhere else that is different from that. What they needed to do was, to let go of the idea that they can't do anything about it, and then start getting creative and acknowledging that there will be some discomfort in this move, in this transition. So whenever we're changing, particularly if we've got momentum going a particular way, if we need to change that, particularly if we need to change it in the other direction, there's a lot of energy goes into slowing that down, changing that, starting from inertia, building up momentum again. So we need to have that resilience and acknowledge that there's going to be some discomfort. And the level of discomfort we're willing to accept, is directly proportional to the range of decisions or the range of options and choices we've got to make. So if I have a low level of resilience, if I can handle a low level of discomfort, it means my choices are like that. If I can handle a bit more discomfort, it means I've got more choices, because some of those choices might be a little bit more uncomfortable, but if I've got low level of resilience, they're not available to me. So the more level of resilience I have, added with that creativity, the greater my range of choices are. I can sit there and go, okay, I need to move this. There's the possibility of moving to this place over here. And as I look at that, that starts to stimulate me and I get excited about it. That starts to move energy differently through. Then I actually work out practically what needs to be done. I realize there's some discomfort because I might have to leave this friendship group. I might have to find a new school for the children. I might need to find even a new job. Maybe I don't have a job that, I can do remotely or whatever. So maybe there's that job piece. But it's the what level of discomfort I'm willing to accept to take myself out of this level of discomfort I'm experiencing over here. This idea of we didn't have a choice. I love the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he talks about being in Germany in concentration camps during the Holocaust as a Jew, and he was a psychiatrist, and he was looking at, even in the worst of situations, there's always the choice, and the choice is, how do I respond to this particular situation? So he would talk about the people that survived and thrived through that experience were the people that were able to reframe it in a different way, to actually acknowledge that they do have a choice. They have a choice as to how they show up, even in the worst of those experiences. So maybe that's a book that's worthy of reading, to sort of create a little bit of framework and to loosen things up a little bit for yourself when you feel yourself going into this place saying, I don't have a choice. Now, the third scenario is a very real scenario, and it doesn't matter where your choice is. And this is in relation to the mandating of someone getting a COVID injection. And again, you can have different choices. I'm a big believer in freedom of choice, providing someone does their research and, makes a good decision based on, what's in alignment with their conscience, what they've discovered through their research. I don't care what choice someone makes, that's fine. What I don't like is an imposition, like a mandate, someone telling you, you must do this. So there's a lot of people that, have made a choice, and they have their personal choice for their own reasons, whether that's religious, whether that's a health, whether that's some other thing, irrelevant. But they're maybe in a profession, and the profession is saying, in order for you to stay in this, you need to get an injection. That might be against their, their conscience or the choices they want to make. Now, again, this could be, it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of believing this. This idea of, being forced into doing something that you don't want to do. Could be any other subject. So this person might say, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. So it might be against what they believe in, what they want to do, but they feel they don't have a choice. Because this work provides their income, they need the income to live, they need the income to sponsor their kids, support their kids and all that sort of stuff. So again, it comes down to the level of resilience, the ability to stay uncomfortable, then the range and level of creativity. Also, the warrior would like to push back on things to say, well, let me just take a little bit more time to think on this, and then I'll make an informed decision. Sage, I'm going to drop into a little bit deeper what feels right for me. So in this case too, someone says, I don't have a choice. Well, you do have a choice. It's just what level of discomfort are you willing to experience, and what's the level of creativity. One of the challenges with creativity, and again, this is what I teach to my clients, is there's a particular state that you need to be in, emotional state, vibratory state, which is conducive to you being even more creative. That might be the sage dropping in, doing this meditation, getting in Zen, and from that Zen state, having access to different ideas. Also having access to the internal guidance system, which is saying, either lean in or lean away from this thing. One of the challenges of making a choice against our conscience, against the boundaries we want to create in life, is it deteriorates our sense of self. It reduces our self-esteem. If we say, I believe in this, but I'm willing to give up my belief in this because someone's putting some pressure on me, and I've decided that the pain of change is worse, than the pain of me doing this thing against my conscience. That's going to take your level of self-esteem down. You're going to start believing less in yourself. You're going to feel less strength in yourself. So, look at this thing beyond this immediate moment. We need to consider what's the long-term consequences, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, of me making this choice. And then I need to drop into this creative space. So I recall a circumstance of, someone actually here in Bali, and a couple, they've got a couple of kids and that sort of thing. The schooling here, if you send your children to an international school in Bali, it's quite expensive. So they're looking, within their partnership, one of them has got work, the other one can't find work within Bali, so they feel they need to go overseas, and in order to go overseas, then they, need to get an injection. They're not really so keen on that sort of thing. They've seen people be injured for whatever reason. then they tell themselves that I don't have a choice, I need to do this thing. For me, again, it's like, before you make that choice, if that's a choice you don't want to make, like, lift up every rock, try all avenues, explore all things, and maybe you only know what you know and you don't know what you know. So you need to talk to someone like me or someone else, a mentor or whatever, that can give a different perspective. Because again, we can get in this narrow way of thinking, this is the only way out, I don't have a choice. Maybe we haven't creatively understood these other choices. So maybe in this circumstance where someone goes, okay, we don't have the financial means to keep supporting the kids through school, so we need to make this choice. I would say, like, get creative. It might be this idea of life isn't, going up a straight ladder where we go up these rungs and that's success if we go up, and if we're going down, that's the opposite of success. Life is this jungle gym, and I like this idea of this analogy which says it's more of a long-term game. It's not a sprint. It's more like an obstacle course. And there's sometimes we need to take a step back, to take a step sideways, to take a step forward. So if I'm bringing that philosophy in, if I'm getting really creative, I can say it's okay for me to take a step back for now. This isn't forever. So I tell myself this is a choice as part of a bigger strategic move that's going to take me forward. So I'm okay for less financial flow to come in for a period of time while I reorganize things, I reduce my expenses. Maybe in this case, instead of having those two children at that expensive international school, I homeschool them. Like, let's revisit the whole schooling thing. Let's get creative about that. There's more solutions happening all over the place. Do a search on homeschooling, then there's choices happening all over the world. And you don't have to just find it in your little geographical area. You can find it, curriculums through the US, through Australia, through all over the place. So again, it's like getting creative. Is there another way to reduce this expense? Yes, there is. I can do this particular thing. Okay, we've reduced that expense. Now maybe the need to actually, go overseas isn't pressing up against us. Maybe that gives us another 6 or 12 months, and let's see what unfolds and happens in the world over the course of 6 or 12 months. Who knows? Giving yourself that extra space and time, that extra buffer, so you're not pushed up against something. Creativity, resilience, thinking long term, thinking that life is this jungle gym rather than this ladder is a way to approach this thing in a different way. So, to bring this, full circle, to summarize this thing, it's be very conscious of telling yourself a story that you turn into a fact, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you want to do is be this leader, be this warrior, be this sage who looks at this thing with a sense of curiosity and says, is that true? Are there any other options? And acknowledging again this idea, if you only know what you know and you don't know what you don't know, maybe you need to find new information, maybe you need to do more research, maybe you need to talk to the right person who's got the right ideas to support you moving through that. Maybe, I help, and I love helping people transition from working for a bigger company to working for themselves. I love the entrepreneurial piece. I love the autonomy that comes with, running your own show, creating your own money. Like, I've been less affected over this last couple of years or 18 months, because I run my own business. So no one can put any pressure on me to do anything that I don't want to do. I can expand my business, I can contract my business, I can do whatever I like with my business. So again, if someone decides they want to leave this thing, there's so many different creative ways to, build a business up. It's never been easier. I was just, the platform that I'm, you're watching this video on and that I'm running the Become a Natural Superhuman on is called Kajabi. Within this platform, you can create a training course, you can create a website, you can create all the marketing material, you can create emails, all of this stuff. And if you pay it on a monthly thing, it's $150 per month. Now, I don't have shares in this company, but I'm just saying, $150 a month, you could actually create a training company that can, build anything And to any scale, like you could run $1 million business through this platform where you're paying, $150 a month. Like that's the possibility we have, when we start taking the blinkers off, when we start like going, yes, I know I've always done this. How can I transition into something else that creates the income that I need? How much do I like? Again, this idea of be conscious of the stories you're telling and realizing that there's a creative solution to it. Realizing too, I talked about resilience, this warrior who is there able to sit within discomfort, realize that's a part of this scenario as well. The more you can build up your strength, and for me that is, daily meditation practice, daily movement practice, mantras like affirmations, that sort of stuff to put myself in this state where I can handle more discomfort, where I can handle sitting in the unknown, I can handle sitting with that uncertainty. So I do certain things in certain ways so that I'm able to navigate my way through disruptive times. I'm able to navigate my way to say, okay, I'm leaving the job. I'm over here because I can strategically see a pathway to create a different thing, and I'm willing to be poor for like 6 months or 12 months. Many an entrepreneur has decided to get off working for the man or the woman and set their own thing up and winding back their expenses to as low as possible. Maybe they move back in with their parents, or maybe they take a loan out that just covers their living expenses. There's different solutions along the way. It's just again limited to our creativity and our ability to sit there. The thing with that creativity I spoke about briefly at the start is there's certain practices that we can do, certain rituals we can do that optimize the size of the flame of our creativity. So again, that's something that we're going to talk about in great detail over the course of this Become a Natural Superhuman workshop. So let me just talk a little bit about that. If you want to go deeper into this work, if you want to have support navigating your way through, this is my best way to support you. It's this 5-week program, Become a Natural Superhuman, looking at certain philosophies, foundational philosophies. Then we're going to dive into each week, what does it mean to be a better leader and how can I upskill in that particular part. I do a hypnosis piece, a guided meditation to bring out the leadership virtues within yourself. Then we go through a week, same thing with the warrior. What activities can we do to bring out that warrior, to bring out that strength, to bring out that stability, to bring out that ability to manage discomfort? Then we do the same thing with the sage. What practices do we do to bring out more of our sage? And our sage is connected to something bigger than ourselves. How do we connect into this energy and information source that exists all around us? How do we tap into that? How can we bring more synchronicity into our life by, bringing more of that sage in? So I'm excited about this because I'm really excited to serve as many people as I can. And the way I've created this program is you get to choose your price. So wherever you are on the financial spectrum, you can choose a price point of $57 up to $297. If you have there's different price points, and with that you get extra free tickets. I want as many people as possible to have this experience because I want to serve humanity as best as possible. And I feel the best way I can do that is share what I've learned over time. There's a bunch of bonuses in there, I've got the audio book of this book plus 2 of my other books in there. There's lots of different things that you'll get to experience and access in there. The details are down below, so you just scroll down and you can see all the details there, so nothing's hidden from you. Again, I'd love to serve you and support you in any way. If you think someone else would benefit from seeing this particular video, make sure you share the link. Just cut and paste the URL, or send them to the page where they enter their email address and they get that sent to them, the details of that. So again, I'd love to serve people as best as I possibly can by imparting some of the information and some of the knowledge. And again, I've my own personal experience. I went through one of the top leadership academies in the world, Royal Military College, Duntroon. I was a major in the army over the course of 14 years. 5 years I consulted to Olympic Games and mega events around the world in security. Then leaving that, I studied neuro-linguistics program, hypnotherapy, and I've been coaching for 14 plus years with lots of different people. So bringing all of that, everything that I've learned over my 52 years, bringing that into this conversation. I want to share everything with you that I possibly can. Over the course of that 5 weeks, we have weekly Q&A coaching sessions. So again, asking specific questions of me in relation to yourself, and again, serving you as best as possibly I can there. So if that sounds like something for you, I strongly encourage you to join us starting on the 15th of November, going for 5 weeks, finishing up just before Christmas, getting you ready to have that Christmas downtime and then step into 2022 as the new version of yourself. If you want to achieve this thing over here, what I've found over time working with hundreds and hundreds of clients is we need to become the person who is able to achieve that thing. That's what we're doing over 5 weeks. We're developing within you the person you need to be, not only to navigate your way through 2022, but to thrive. Okay, so that's enough from me. I'm looking at my time thing on this recording. I'm very conscious of the preciousness of time. I hope that this has served you, this conversation, this challenge to you. Looking where the blind spots are, looking at how you can overcome some of these ideas about where you feel you're backed into and how you can stoke the flame of your creativity and realize that the illumination from this flame of your creativity gives you so many different options to choose from. So I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are on this gorgeous, incredible, beautiful planet of ours. Have a fantastic day. I look forward to serving you. Find out more details down below. I'd love to spend that 5 weeks with you and us collectively together, coming together with other superhumans, making the world a more awesome place. So be awesome, do awesome, and create a more awesome world. Have a fantastic day and take care.